Hello, Mishpacha, it's Courtney, America's Jewish mother. Welcome back to my channel. It's Friday, so that means it's time for another Friday Reads video, but it is also the 5th day of Hanukkah, so before I get into the Friday Reads portion of this video, I'm going to unwrap my gift from Lindsay of Lindsay's Book Life for day 5. So this says, sort of hard to read, sorry. I don't know much about this collection, but when I saw it, it looked right up your alley. I hope you find some gems in here. So I have no idea what this is, but it's quite a heavy book, actually. So I'm gonna actually, for comparative purposes, hold up this and the books of Jacob, if I can get the books of Jacob over here. So I mean, obviously the books of Jacob is bigger, but I actually think this book is heavier than the books of Jacob, which is like a 2-pound book. So that's interesting. I have no idea what this is. I'm so curious. I'm thinking, it says collection, so I'm thinking maybe like a poetry anthology, or, you know, some collected short stories or something like that. So let's just see what it is, shall we? Ooh, The Fire this time, African American plays for the 21st century. Oh, this is wonderful. And it's especially great because I have been thinking that I have not read, like, I really haven't read very many plays this year. I think I've only read like 3, and I was thinking that that was a shame. So yes, I'm so excited about this. Let's see. Ooh, it has something by Lynn Nottage, one that I haven't read. Has something by Suzanne Laurie Parks, August Wilson. Also some people I haven't heard of, like Brian Freeman and Robert Alexander. So yes, this is very exciting. Thank you, Lindsay. Let's see if there's... Okay, good. Yeah, okay. So it looks like there are a couple of essays, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 plays in here. So yeah, this is awesome. I'm really excited to read this. Yeah, great choice. I'm stoked. Yeah, so if you've read this collection by chance, do let me know. And again, thank you to Lindsay. So now I'm going to put this off to the side and move into the Friday Reads portion of this video. So I actually finished more than one book this week, but there's only one book that I finished in the past few days that I haven't already wrapped up in my November wrap-up and rankings video of 2 days ago, or whenever that was. I don't remember anymore. So maybe it was yesterday. Time has no meaning anymore. So anyway, the book that I actually finished yesterday in December was Sabbath's Theater by Philip Roth, which I did as a buddy read with Sandy of Ms. Reads a Lot. And this was a wild ride, y'all. So this book is about Mickey Sabbath, who is a 64-year-old man who, when the book opens, has recently lost his longtime mistress, Drenka, to cancer, I think. And that sort of sends him into an existential crisis. And basically the whole rest of the book is just him wandering around trying to decide whether or not he's going to kill himself, more or less. And he also reminisces on past memories and lots of depraved sexual acts that he's taken part in. And then he also proceeds to take part in some more depraved sexual acts at present. So there's that too. So yeah, and that's pretty much the whole premise of the book. And I've previously described this as Hamlet if Hamlet were an old pervert, and I'm sticking with that description. So that's pretty much my overall feeling about this book, because it's a very masterfully done character study, and it's definitely Shakespearean in its way. And yeah, Mickey Sabbath is not a likable character at all. He's very repulsive, and he does a lot of things that, to me, really, or for me, really ought to have made him an irredeemable character. And yet, somehow, Philip Roth made me feel bad for this guy, even despite all of the depraved sex acts and messed up stuff that he did. I still felt sorry for him ultimately, because I could see that the reasons behind, I could see like the reasons behind why he is so sex obsessed is to kind of mask this grief, like grief that he has over the death of his mistress, but also grief over departed family members, especially a family member who died at only age like 20 or 21. And so it was clear that like and I think I said this the first time I talked about this book on this channel, but the sex stuff is really a red herring, because it could really have been anything that Mickey had gotten super into to like distract him from his grief and fears about dying. But I think it's sex because, one, it's Philip Roth, and two, because that's a sort of incarnation of the life force, right? Like it's something very primal and animal and instinctually driven. Do I think Philip Roth could have made that point in another way? Yes, but because he's Philip Roth, he chose sex to do it. So I ended up giving this book 3.5 stars. I, again, thought it was a masterful character study of a very repulsive character, and I was very intrigued by Mickey Sabbath as a character. He was totally believable. But even, again, as he did terrible things, I still found myself intrigued by what was going to happen, and I did find that I felt bad for him, even though maybe I really shouldn't have felt bad for him. So for that reason, it's getting 3.5 stars. And Sandy did not like this as much. Well, I'm not going to spoil her rating, but she didn't like it as much as I did, so whenever she posts her review of this, go check out her channel for an alternate take on this book. And I definitely understand why this book is so polarizing, because I think a lot of readers will not want to wade through all the depraved sex acts and pornographic stuff to just to like have this really intense focused character study of this repulsive guy. Because like I think most of us when we read a book want to feel like we care about the main character and connect with them and root for them, and Mickey's very hard to do all of those things with. So was it a good book? Objectively, yes. Do I recommend it? Probably not, unless you're like a very specific type of reader. Mark Nash, if you're watching this, I know this book is on your to-read list. I will be so curious to hear what you make of it when you get to it. So yeah, that's Sabbath Theater, and I'm glad that I read it overall, because it was interesting, and it was not, to me, as bad as reading Earthlings. I told Sandy, basically, like, kind of near the beginning of our buddy read of this book, that as long as 2 things didn't happen in this book, I would be okay and I could make it to the end. And I'm not going to tell you what the 2 things are, because I feel that would be sort of spoiler to tell you that those things don't happen in this book. But I'm pleased to report that my very low bar of I didn't want these 2 things to happen, they didn't happen. So that's all I wanted, and I got that, and so that's how I was able to finish this book. So yeah, 3.5 stars. But do I recommend it to you, my viewer? Probably not. Again, unless you're a very specific kind of reader, or a Roth superfan, or someone who's willing to sort of put aside pesky things like plot or likable characters in order to get inside the head of a very repulsive man. So yeah. So that's what I finished. And then in terms of currently reading, I just this morning started Jericho Brown's The Tradition, which was very kindly sent to me by my former dissertation advisor. I'm not very far into this yet, but I expect that it won't take me that long to read it. So excited about that. I have not made any progress in Fred Brooks' The Mythical Man-Month, which is not good. I need to make some progress on this, and maybe now that I've finished Sabbath's theater, I will be able to make more progress on this, I hope. I am 50 pages into Dostoyevsky's The Idiot, which means I'm slightly behind right now. But I only need to read about 10 more pages today to be caught up, so I don't think that will be too hard. So far we've been introduced to Prince Mishkin, who is 26 years old and is described as sort of simple-minded, but he has a sort of charm about him that makes everyone like him. And he is traveling to the home of a distant relation to himself. And now it seems like he's probably going to stay with those relations. And again, I'm only 50 pages in, so that's just about as far as I'm at right now, as far as this goes. And I am still caught up in my reading of Tokarczuk's The Books of Jacob, and I do want to give slightly more extended update on the Books of Jacob, because now that I'm into book 3 of this, I feel like I've found kind of my footing with this novel, and like the pieces are starting to come together more. So basically in book 1 of this novel, we kind of get some setup between what the Jewish community is like in Poland and what the non-Jewish community is like, and we get some sense of why people, like why Jewish people might be tempted to follow a false messiah based on the way that Jews are treated in this area. And then in book 2, we're actually introduced to the character of Jacob Frank, and we see from several different things he does that he's not exactly a morally upright, upstanding person or anything like that. So we're introduced to him, and he starts amassing followers, and he and his followers start traveling around various parts of Europe, and he seems to not really care that much about Judaism and kind of changes things within the religion according to whim, and one day it's more Christian-like, and the next day it's more like Islam, etc., etc., and he claims to be kind of the reincarnated version of Shabbatai Tzvi, who was a former false messiah, although obviously the people who follow Jacob Frank think he's the real messiah, but I'm just telling you for historical record, Shabbatai Tzvi and Jacob Frank, false messiahs, right? So that happens in book 2, and now that I'm into book 3, we see that the Frankist, should I call it a cult? Sect. I'm just going to call it a sect. The Frankist sect has caused a schism within the Jewish community, and the Jewish community has basically tried to like excommunicate Frank and the Frankists, and have like put a curse on them and stuff, and have written letters to the Christian bishops and archbishops asking them to, I guess, sort of adjudicate in the dispute between them. And the bishops are kind of like, I mean, they're all Jews, right? We don't know what the Jews believe. We just know that they're wrong and they need to be converted to Christianity, right? And the bishops seem slightly more inclined to the Frankists, just because the Frankists are like being more sort of Christian right now in their beliefs. So that's as far as I've gotten. But as I said, I feel more like I've found my footing with this now, and the pieces are starting to come together. So this is going well. So that is everything. So that's the book from Lindsay for day 5 of Hanukkah, and I finished Sabbath Theater, and then I'm currently reading those 4 books. So thank you for watching this. If you have thoughts about any of these books, I would love to hear that. Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope everyone is staying healthy and well. I hope you're doing good reading whatever you're reading, and until next time, what do you kill you to call you mother?